Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone in between, welcome to Pro Tour Fate Reforged with me, your host, Rich Hagan, sitting alongside the Marshall Sutcliffe, and the Hall of Famer, Mr. Randall J. Bueller. Welcome to you all from the heart of America. Washington, D.C. is our fabulous resort location for, guys, an astonishing weekend coming up. Marshall, out beyond the lights, the players are sitting down to draft and open up Fate Reforged. As the limited man, what are you looking forward to this morning?
Well, there's a lot to look forward to. We've got a whole new set. They're going to be opening that pack first, Fate Reforged. So that is going to set a strong tone for how the format goes. When you pick those cards first, they can definitely influence where you go in the later two packs, which are Khans of Tarkir. Now, there's a lot floating around out there about the format, about what they think is going to happen, the pros. I've drafted it a bunch of times as well. The thing that I'm looking for, though, is to see if we can see allied color pairs. So we're talking about, green-white, for example, blue-black. These type of color pairs actually shift all the way down into the Khans packs and force people into some archetypes that we might not have seen at all leading in. Generally speaking, people were playing either enemy-colored pairs like black-white, or they were playing three-colored decks. We call them the wedges or the clans from Khans. But now things could change. There are some big bomby rares in this setting. You're going to see a lot of those pop up. Some of them are just one color, but a lot of them are two color. Cards like Dromaka, the Eternal, Silumgar, the Drifting Death. These are cards that you can open up and, if compelled to, pick and could lead you down a path that you're not used to going down in Khans.
This man loves limited. Can you tell? This man loves constructed. And modern Randy, what a format.
No, it's wide open. There are legitimately 20 different decks I can imagine making the top 8 of this format. I think that the recent bannings were exactly correct, my opinion. We could argue about that, obviously, but I think that they've just leveled this playing field in a way where no one knows what's going to take over. And I don't think the biggest upset we could see this weekend would be for any one deck to make up 20% of the field. It's just not going to happen. I don't think there'll be more than one or two decks that break 10% of the field. You can play mid-range. The Obzon deck is probably the one that most people are expecting to, break 10%. You can play combo, whether you like Splinter Twin or Scape Shift or Storm. You can play aggro. You can play it affinity style. You can play Zoo. You can play Infect. You can play Burn. There's just so many different decks, and I don't think anybody knows exactly how this new metagame, post-bannings is going to shake out. So. And we'll find out. We'll find out in the next 2 days.
Okay, well, for those of you who are joining us for the first time here at the Pro Tour, welcome. We have a unique format structure that runs through every Pro Tour. Randy, why don't we walk through, for the viewers at home who are joining us, particularly for the first time, how are the next 3 days going to shape out?
Sure. So, big picture, it's 16 rounds of Magic and then a cut to the top 8. That top 8 single elimination on Sunday is where everybody wants to be. That is going to be modern constructed once we get there, but the way we get there is worth talking about. So each of the 2 preliminary days has the same structure. We kick off with a booster draft. That's 3 rounds. Then we go into modern constructed for 5 rounds. Every one of those matches is best 2 out of 3, and day 1 you're kind of getting in position. You got to qualify to go play day 2. You got to pick up at least 4 wins to get to go play day 2, and then day 2 run it back, and then again that goal is make the top 8 on Sunday. Now we use what's called Swiss pairings, which if you've played Magic tournaments, they pretty much all run this way, where you're always going to be paired against somebody that has the same record as you. So the winners will keep playing other winners and kind of boiling the field down till you get to, by the end of day 1, we'll only have a couple of undefeateds, but then that makes it set up such that you effectively sort the players using the Swiss pairings algorithm.
Okay, Marshall, we have a pretty straightforward scoring system. Let's walk people through it.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched a Magic tournament on coverage yet, you might be confused about how the actual scoring goes. It's very straightforward. If you win your match, you get 3 points. If you lose your match, you get 0 points. There is something in between. It's a draw. Whether unintentional or intentional will get you 1 point, which is slightly better than a loss, but way better, and of course quite a bit worse than an actual win.
Okay, so Randy, then what are people playing for? Because there's a lot on the line.
There is. I mean, there's a healthy amount of prize money. There's a healthy amount of pro points. But honestly, most of these guys, they just want to win, right? It's a Magic tournament. You want to make top 8. You want to win. You want to sort of just rack up those titles. 40 grand won't hurt, though. $40,000 for first place, and those 30 pro points also carry with it an automatic platinum status. So you are set up for the next year and change in terms of Pro Tour qualifications, even if you've never done anything before coming and spiking a Pro Tour. 20 grand for second. You see the lion's share of the money is in that top 8, and then below that, the pro points are nicely based on match points now. That's a relatively recent change, which I think has just been universally loved by all of the pros. You don't have to sweat your tiebreakers in terms of exactly how many of those pro points you get for future qualifications. They still matter for the money. So $250,000 total. A bunch of it going to be decided on Sunday, but yeah, it's everything a Magic player could want to play for.
So if it is, as Randy says, Marshall, everything a Magic player would want to play for, everyone watching us now wants to be here.
Yeah.
How can they go about being here next time?
So there's a lot of different ways to qualify for the Pro Tour. We can take a look. You can win a Pro Tour qualifier. The structure on these has changed recently from a local event to a more regional-sized event, but you can win through winning a Pro Tour qualifier. You can also finish high at a Grand Prix, which is, of course, a much bigger in terms of attendance tournament, where if you get top 8, top 4, it depends on the attendance, you can pick up a Pro Tour invite there. You can also get 33 match points or better at the previous Pro Tour. That's a recent change as well, where it used to be top 25. Now it's based on match points.
Right, and that's like 11 wins,
yes.
33 points, 3 points per win.
Yes.
11 wins, 5 losses. Brings you automatically back for another go.
That's right. You can also get, the Pro Player Club has silver, gold, and platinum. Platinum's automatically qualified for all of the next year's and the rest of this season's Pro Tours. Gold is the same. Silver will get you qualified for the next Pro Tour. And of course, if you're in the Hall of Fame, you're qualified for all of them.
Right, and Randy, we've seen a table out there just getting ready to go.
Oh, I shivered when I walked by that table.
Right. You know the one we're talking about?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, no, I tweeted a picture of it. It's essentially most of Team Pantheon sitting down, but you look at that table and there's John Finkel and Kai Buddha, right? There's Jelger Wiegersma, Billy Jensen. It's
Nassif.
It's Owen and Reed, who are 2 of the top 5 ranked players in the world right now, and 6 Hall of Famers. Like the number 1 guy in the world is the dead money at that table somehow.
Right. Okay, so that's how to qualify. Now, there are the best part of 400 stories waiting to be written out there as the players get ready to draft. But Randy, you have one in particular that I know you want to share.
Oh, yeah, the guy that I'm watching here, and it's actually a member of Team Pantheon, the guy I want to see is Tom Ross. So Tom Ross, he has a Pro Tour top 8 from a number of years ago. He's been trying to get back to the Pro Tour for a while. He's been doing well in the independent circuit. Goes to New Jersey for the Grand Prix in Legacy, takes his sort of trademark Infect deck, 2nd place in the Grand Prix. So now you've got sort of an old school guy, qualifies for the GP. Here he comes for the first Pro Tour in a while. He's on Team Pantheon. The way I hear it, he's got the best winning percentage in the house in Limited, and he's got a huge impact on their constructed deck. So he could be a big story this weekend.
He really could, but I can tell you that the players are ready. We have Luis Scott Vargas, Eduardo dos Santos Vieira, Kohei Ito, Sam Pardy, Jeff Moore, Felipe Tapia Becerra, J. Gary Wise, all at the same table, the table you're about to see, and the player that you are about to watch draft is Josh Utter-Leyton. Let's hand you down to the booth, and here comes the Pro Tour historian, Mr. Brian David Marshall.
Thanks, Rich. Brian David Marshall here. Pleased to be joined by R&D member Ian Duke, new to the coverage team. Ian Duke, welcome aboard.
Thanks. It's a great pleasure to be here.
And we're going to have a great pleasure in store as we watch this draft table. Let's take a look at who's sitting down at this table and who we're going to be following. There you see Eduardo, J. Gary Wise, Jeff Moore, Kohei Ito, Felipe Tapia Becerra, the former Rookie of the Year, Luis Scott Vargas, the Hall of Famer, Sam Pardy. 3 players who worked all together, the third being Josh Utter-Leyton, who's the player we're going to be following. What's it like being at a draft table with people that you've play tested with? We're going to find out right now as we get ready to send it down to the floor and watch Josh Utter-Leyton draft and crack his first Fate Reforged pack of Pro Tour Fate Reforged. Hello, everybody, and welcome to draft coverage of Pro Tour Fate Reforged. There you get a look at the table. I'm Brian David Marshall. I'm joined by Ian Duke, and we are watching Josh Utter-Leyton, one of the most decorated players in the Pro Tour. And we see immediately Shu Yun, Silent Prophet, brought to the front of the pack. Ian, what's going to push that off from the front here?
I don't know. Shu Yun definitely better than most of the commons and uncommons in the format. I think That's probably
I saw an
gonna be
Avon Surveyor in there. I see a Jeskai Barricade.
Yeah, Avon Surveyor, probably the second best card in the pack that we've seen. Definitely one of the top commons. It's also in blue, which is something to consider here.
Grumog Angler makes it to the front. Mardu Scout makes it to the front. There's a Destructor Dragon.
Yeah, it looks to me like Shu Yun's probably going to be a pick and a great way to start the draft.
And where do you go from there?
Well, one thing we've heard from the players is that blue is one of the deepest colors in the format. It has a lot of strong commons, and so starting with a blue, really strong rare is just a great way to begin the draft.
And now you want to be, you're going to want to be Jeskai, or can you go two color here and still make that work?
Well, one of the best ways to start a Fate Reforged draft is to start in an enemy color pair, because that gives you the flexibility to move into either of two different clans.
Right. And there we see Lightform just pulled right to the front of the pack.
Yep, Lightform, another excellent uncommon, probably stronger than most of the uncommons there, so a great
Merciless
pick up here.
Executioner. Looks like maybe an Ugin's Construct back there.
Yeah, it looks to me like Lightform is probably going to be the best pick here. Nothing else really comes close in power level, and blue-white's
Oh, it was a Hero's Blade, sorry.
a great color combination. Lightform also triggering your prowess here is important to note.
You're right. You get to keep developing your board. You get to keep playing creatures, but you also get triggers on your Seeker of the Ways and your Jeskai Students and all those kind of cards.
That's one of the great things about the Manifest cards here in this format.
Yeah, the big new mechanic introduced in Fate Reforged. All right, 2 picks in. Blue-white, so that's the allied color pair that Rich was talking about in the pregame show. I see a Jeskai Sage. I see a Lotus Path Jin.
Yeah,
Battle Brawler right to the front, though.
Oh, that's interesting. That could be a signal that he's considering moving into black-white. One of the stronger enemy color pairs from Triple Cons still holds its own.
Right. We still have 2 Cons of Tarkir packs, and the things that are true about those packs remain true. So, there's still Chiefs of the Edge and Chiefs of the Scale and all that good stuff.
However, Shu Yun, I think, the strongest card between the first 3 packs that he's seen. So I'd expect him to hold on to blue here. But if he does move into black, which he does, I think that shows a strong preference for the black-white color combination, which is really interesting.
Right. And when you're drafting at this level, you need to respect what the player, to the other side of you is handing you, and take that information. Okay, there you see a Reach of Shadows.
That's a great pickup here, just a solid removal spell. A little on the expensive side, but just a great way to round out the top of your deck.
But you know what? We've talked a lot about the rares in this format and, the dragons and all these kind of big cards. And, you need something that's going to unequivocally kill something.
Absolutely. A lot of these games in this format go long. And so if your opponent has these bomb rares in their deck, you're going to see them eventually. Any other considerations here that you see? I see a Bathe in Dragonfire.
Yeah, Bathe in Dragonfire, but then he which is perfectly reasonable with Shu Yun, right? Like you can still be blue-red, but he says black seems open.
Yep.
There I see a Cunning Strike, right into being. Noxious Dragon goes right to the front.
Oh yeah, Noxious Dragon. That's a great pickup. Again, another expensive card, but quite powerful. So I think he's probably going to be ready to snap that up.
Probably the best of the uncommon dragon cycle.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely.
Because, your opponent needs to deal with it, and when they do, you almost always get to take out a creature with that.
So this is a great start here for Josh Utter-Leyton. I mean, he's clearly comfortable with the black-white archetype, and he's definitely getting past some good black cards, so I think he's going to be pretty happy with this start.
That Jeskai Sage near the front. Oh, well, he's thinking about maybe being Sultai. There's a Jungle Hollow.
Interesting.
Our first gain land of the of these packs that he's even pulled anywhere near the front.
Yeah, no clear standout black or white cards here, so I think I'd expect him to pick up the land. Just gives him more flexibility later on in the draft to splash and maybe even go into full Sultai.
It could be Sultai, it could be Abzan. Where it works in both directions.
Keep in mind, though, he only has 1 white card here in light form, and it's double white, so he might maintain some flexibility and decide to pivot a little bit, depending on what shows up.
And there you go. You see Lotus Path Jin. Oh, there you see Harsh Sustenance. Wow, that's a big signal, isn't it? That's one of the best commons in this set for me.
Absolutely. What's really interesting about these enemy color commons is that they're quite strong, but they often don't get picked early because players don't want to commit themselves to 2 colors. So they'll often float around late and give you a good signal about what's going on at the table.
Right. Weirdly, not one of the best cards while drafting Pack 1, but once you have your deck built and you can play that card, it's absolutely insane. It's backbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Can really swing a race.
Is that Channel Harm comes to the front of the pack? So now we're seeing some of these white cards.
Yeah, Channel Harm is a powerful card, but it's situational and it's expensive. So not something you're in love with snapping up early, but could be a good sideboard card or just depending on your deck.
Right. And Ancestral Vengeance, not even a consideration there.
Yeah, double black is hard in such a multicolor format.
I like what Josh has done here. He's just been, he's had a good, clean read on the table.
Looks like he's eyeing up a Feral Crushhawk as a possibility here. Again, he only has one white card, so black-green is always still on his radar.
It looks like he took the black card there, though.
Yeah, is that a Sibsig Muckdraggers?
I think it was. I think it was, yeah.
Oh, Diplomacy of the Waste, actually. This is a Warrior Matters cards here. So it's like a coercion, but if you control a warrior, you also get to ding your opponent for 2 life. So another good answer to those late-game bombs.
Right, and here goes a Hero's Blade.
Hero's Blade, a good pickup, a little on the clunky side as far as the mana costs, but equipment is equipment and can always be powerful and limited.
Be pretty sweet with his Shu Yun if he was able to...
Is this another Hero's Blade?
Another Hero's
Wow,
Blade.
I wonder if he's eyeing up that Shu Yun now. This could turn into something. Again, he only has 1 white card, so it's a possibility. We'll see what he opens.
Right, equipping 4, a little expensive. Equipping for free, pretty good.
Looks like an Ancestral Vengeance, and is that a Karsi High Priest? Can't quite tell.
Yeah, that was a Karsi High Priest.
Okay. This is a really interesting card. Showcases the manifest mechanic.
I love that card. I haven't actually had much of a chance to play with it, but it's really good. Refocus. And now he's going to take the Mardu Rune Mark card. That card, by the way, the Rune Marks made a mark at the Grand Prix last weekend. I was really surprised. Their card. A lot of people have been very dismissive of them.
Yeah, the Rune Marks are interesting. I mean, yeah, a lot of pro players do dismiss them, but every once in a while you get that super aggressive Rune Mark deck, and you can really take off with a fat start.
Yeah, well, we watched Luis putting Rune Marks on his Waterworld Adepts.
Yep, or sometimes a Valley Dasher gets in there. So players we're reviewing now, it looks like he's sorting some cards to the front. Definitely looks like he's going to be in black here. Got a lot of solid black in pack 1.
Yeah, that Battle Brawler was a huge signal for him, it looked like.
And then white, obviously being his preference to be a second color, although light form is really the only super strong card he has. Channel Harm, again, solid but situational. So we could see him pivot a little bit depending on what he opens.
Go black, blue, splash green.
Mm-hmm.
You know, see a radical departure from the conventional wisdom and go Esper.
It'll be interesting to see what he does with those 2 Heroes Blades, too. If he opens another legendary creature, I mean, that could turn into something.
The players wait. It's always so agonizing.
So what do you think he's hoping to open here in pack 2 in the cons pack?
You know, I think he's looking for maybe there's an Abzan.
This is an Ankle Shanker here.
Ankle Shanker. So he can still go red, right? He can just, that's not that hard for him to pick up a couple of mana fixtures along the way, speculate on the Goblin Berserker.
Absolutely. Or here's an Abzan Battle Priest.
I like the Battle
solid
Priest
creature.
quite a bit. Like it's I think that the impact that the 2 cards have on the board is, relatively similar actually. Like in terms of like just being like this big swingy card.
And Killshot, another solid card. Probably not the pick here,
No.
just because he's tended to be more aggressive in black-white warriors. So yeah, we'll see what he goes with.
Yeah,
here.
he goes with the Battle Priest. The Ankle Shanker, obviously terrific, but that also obligates him now to prioritize, taking Bloodfell Caves and other cards that maybe he's not doesn't have to take.
And I think that shows
otherwise.
a lot of discipline here, the preference just to stay in 2 colors when possible, even with the strong Ankle Shanker there tempting him.
There's another kill shot for him. There's a throttle for him if he's interested.
Yeah, Throttle's a great pickup, as always, solid removal spell.
But, we're not seeing anything that you would typically see in a black-white warriors deck, like black or white warriors.
That's true. He is a little light on early creatures right now, which is something he's going to have to consider. So he's keeping Killshot up at the top here. That might indicate he wants to go with a more controlling strategy, so probably a little bit more removal heavy, and that might have to do with him not having a lot of early plays so far.
You see him jump all over the first Jeskai student he sees. Einok Bonkin is the card he's looking for.
Yep, absolutely.
There's an Alabaster Kieran. There's a Sultai Scavenger.
Yeah, both of those are great considerations. And Obzon Charm also, if he does decide to add that third color, although I think we've seen him show a preference toward staying 2 colors whenever possible.
Right, he has the Jungle Hollow there as the third card in the queue.
So I think we're going to see his choice between the Kieran and the Scavenger here is most likely. Just kind of depends on how he feels about Delve cards in general. I think the Scavenger might be a slightly stronger card if you can support the Delve, but he may just be saying, I don't have early plays. I'm not going to get cards in my graveyard.
Right, he can't just trade stuff in the red zone early right now. And that Scavenger could just come around depending on how the table plays out. But he's also going to be happy with Jungle Hollow. He's also going to be happy. He's obviously identified the Defiant Strike as a card that he thinks might come back around. There's Kill Shot. There's Timely Hordemate.
Yeah, I think Timely Hordemate is just what he's looking for. It's something to do early. It's a strong creature.
Even though he doesn't have any of the mana
it's hard for him to trigger the raid, but
creatures.
There's still a pack and a half left or more. So he has a chance to pick up those 2 drops that make this really strong.
So he's Kill Shot is he needs creatures. He takes the Hordemate and says, all right, Kill Shot. I'd like that card, but
the second Kill Shot being worse than the first, it just makes it easier for your opponent to play around the both of them.
So I see a Throttle back there. No.
Looks like a Krumar Bondkin.
Yeah.
So an unyielding Krumar, I should say.
Well, look there, but there's a Woolly Loxodon. He's can go Obzon. He has that Jungle Hollow. He might get a Jungle Hollow back around the table.
It's interesting. A late Arrow Storm here too. I think it shows one thing we've seen is players shying away from red a little bit in this format.
Yeah, definitely underpriced on the premium red cards. So he does take the Woolly Loxodon. So.
That's an interesting speculation here. I wonder if he's keeping his mind open to going Abzan.
Yeah, I think he is. Looking at Russia Battle, looking at Mardu Hateblade as a nice early drop.
Yeah, I think the Hateblade's a good pickup for him tier 2. It works well both to trigger your raid early, but also in a more defensive deck where it can hang back and threaten to be a typhoid rat, so to speak.
Right, there you go. And Mardu Hateblade, that's the pick. And that's really the first low curve creature.
A great creature to get back with Timely Hordemate, too, because it retains its value later in the game by trading up.
And there's an Obzon Guide. Wow.
He's going to be happy he kept his options open here if he decides to go with that. And there's a Rite of the Serpent, which is, solid, but not something you're really looking for here. I think he might pick up the Guide.
I feel like the rate's maybe gone up a tiny bit with the addition of Fate Reforged, but yeah, he's taking that Obzon Guide. It's a 3-drop. It swings games around for you. And again, you talked about maybe that more controlling version of the deck. There's a Jeskai student. There's a Swarm of Bloodflies.
Yeah, Swarm of Bloodflies is an interesting card. I think different players.
Is that another Obzon Guide as well?
Okay, he's going to be really happy he kept his options open now. So I was going to say with that last Obzon Guide, he was probably thinking, I'll pick this up on speculation and maybe not go with it. Oh, but he does go with the Swarm of Bloodflies after all. So going with the safer pick that he's sure to play. This is a card that different players evaluate very differently, but it looks like Josh likes it a lot.
And the Ankle Shanker made his way back around the table. Nobody wanted to block it.
This is a really interesting consequence of adding Fate Reforged into the draft, where sometimes these bomby 3-color cards, they just end up going around because no one solidifies into a clan early in the draft.
And so this, I believe, was this the pack that had the the Jungle Hollow did not come back. There's a Shambling Attendant. Passes a couple of, green cards. I saw a Smoke Teller in there.
Solid pickup. He doesn't have any Delve cards yet, which raises the value of this a little bit for him.
There's a Defiant Strike.
Yeah, always a solid pickup. Not at its best in a controlling deck, but it's always a cantrip, so you can use it to fill things out if you need an extra playable card.
Another Shambling Attendant, an Obzon Banner, and a Summit Prowler.
Looks like he's not scared to send that late Summit Prowler, even though it's not excellent. He knows red is not being heavily drafted to his right, so he can safely pass that.
And there we go. Last couple cards of the pack. And let's take a look as he flips through these cards and see how things are looking here.
So another solid pack, if not spectacular for him. Still a little bit lacking in early drops. You might want to see an Einok Bondkin. Maybe another Mardu Hateblade is an example of a card you might want to see as an early drop.
But he did pick up two key morphs here, assuming that he's going to go Obzon colored. Yeah, with the Woolly Loxodon and the Obzon Guide.
Yeah, although he did pass the second Obzon Guide, so that definitely shows that he's at least hesitant about jumping into full Obzon here.
Yeah. Yeah, right. He has the ankle shanker, the Obzon Guide, and the Woolly Loxodon all sort of in the back in his speculation fund.
That's right. So keeping his options open, going into pack 3 here. Let's see what he opens. It's probably looking for a slam dunk like a High Sentinels of Erishin or End Hostilities or something along those lines would just be excellent here.
Calling his shot for him here. So what?
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
All right. Well, he got just what he was looking for.
No one told me you were psychic,
I
Ian
think
Duke.
that's the definition of a slam dunk there, BDM. What do you think?
That is unbelievable.
Just the perfect card. I mean, probably, aside from a mythic Wingmate Rock, just absolutely the best thing he could open right here. He's got to be really happy.
And, and there's a chance he gets 2 cards. Like the Einok Bonkin can go, you can see it go.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit of a stretch. I mean, it's definitely a premium 2-drop, but if that does come back, it'd just be a dream come true for him.
Wow. High Sentinels of Arashin, one of the, like you said, you're like, what's a bomb card that would go into his deck here? You called the shot.
Yeah, regarded as one of the strongest rares in Triple Cons draft, so great for him to see it here. See a Krumar Bonkin, I think, up front.
Yeah, I see a Hate Blade, a Feat of Resistance. Oh, there's a Take-Up Arms.
Oh, those are all solid choices. Feat of Resistance card people really liked in Triple Cons. Not at a premium in his deck since, as we mentioned, he's lacking in low drops. The Skull Hunter, I think, is probably a great choice for him here. Something that can trade with a Morph early and something he can bring back with the timely Horde Mate.
You can see, though, that Feat of Resistance has sort of wound its way up the queue for Josh as he was sorting the pack. But it is the Mardu Skull Hunter.
And a great pickup here, just rounding out his curve.
Yeah, you just play it on turn 2 as, to sort of build your board. But it also has these turns where you play it, and it's just a backbreaker. There's another Alabaster Kieran.
Yeah, Alabaster Kieran, a solid pickup for a slightly more defensive black-white deck.
But there's the War Behemoth, which he is.
Yeah, he might be prioritizing the War Behemoth just because it's a morph here and something to do a little bit earlier in the game.
Yeah, that looks like he just shuffled the Kieran way back into the pack.
Yeah, I think he's got plenty to do at 4 cost and up, so prioritizing just something he can do a little bit earlier in the game over the Alabaster Kieran.
So we watched Josh open a blue card, open a Jeskai rare, but really quickly pivot away into black-white, and he's been pretty dedicated here. There's another War Behemoth.
A Rite of the Serpent, as you mentioned before. But yeah, I think he's just going to pick up the early creature. It's really what his deck needs right here, and you can certainly do worse than a War Behemoth.
And a lot of times, you calculate, what could they have here? What could they be unmorphing on 5? The 3/6 survives a lot of combats. Survives a lot of double blocks.
That's right. Yeah, and it's a little bit inefficient to cast straight up, but the floor on a morph is so high. Worst thing, you can just play it on turn 3.
Wow, that's a late Bear's Companion floating around.
And a Scoured Barrens help fix his mana.
Yeah, another Take-Up Arm. So there is another the ingredients for a Mardu deck really super aggressive were at this table.
Yeah, there's always that sort of token-based Mardu deck with Take-Up Arms and Ponyback Brigades, and then you finish with Trumpet Blast or Rush of Battle.
Or Harsh Sustenance.
Yeah, that's another option, too.
But he does take the Scour Barons, just fixes up his mana a little bit.
He's not really in that aggressive black-white type deck that we've seen.
There's a Jeskai Student near the front of the pack. There's a Mardu Hateblade. Jumps the queue.
Yeah, I think Mardu Hateblade's a great pickup here. Again, just another low drop creature that holds value into the late game. He's got that Mardu Skull Hunter. He could go turn 1 Hateblade, turn 2 Skull Hunter for the dream there. And a Rush of Battle still in that pack, but again, he's not in that aggressive tokens-based type warrior strategy, so he's going to pass that along.
Oh, look, there we go. Little Bloodfell Caves. He's like, oh, maybe I will play this ankle shanker.
Yeah, it does open the door to that splash. Nothing else too amazing here, so he might pick it up to preserve his option, but it's also one of the best hate drafts in the pack, too, just to cut off his opponents from mana fixing.
Marty Warshrieker. Mystic of the Hidden Way. The blue's actually not been terrible as it's gone by, but yeah, he just takes the Warshrieker. Probably not going to play it with just one fixer.
Yeah, unlikely. So that Einok Bonkin did not come back, unfortunately.
No.
But that's to be expected.
They don't. I mean, they can. Kira Bloodsucker is the pick here.
Yep. A solid pick up there.
Yeah.
May or may not make the main deck, but
black
definitely
morph.
a good option. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Third hate
third hate play. That's great. Good pickup for him.
You know, 4 or 5 cards left in the pack, and he's still getting cards for his deck.
It's a late Efreet Weapon Master. He'll probably cut that off just so he doesn't have to play against it.
Just you don't really care if your opponent has any of the other 3 cards in their deck. Rakshasa Secret.
Yeah, that could be a solid card. It's a possibility that he might main deck a card like that.
We've seen that card, first picked by...
Yeah, Gerard Fabiano, I know, is a big Rakshasa Secret fan.
By the way, a late Trumpet Blast there.
Oh, that's, yeah. Not a card he'll play, but,
Yeah.
A nice card to see not picked up by someone else, because those Trumpet Blast decks can occasionally be really scary.
All right, so what do you think of this deck here by Josh Utter-Leyton?
I think it's a solid deck. It's not amazing. He's not super aggressive, and he has a solid late game, but nothing spectacular there. He doesn't have those 3-color bomb gold rares that you'd really be looking for in a more controlling deck. But for a mid-speed deck, I think he's in good shape. That High Sentinels of Erishin was just a godsend for him there.
That was unbelievable.
Spectacular pickup. That's going to win him a lot of games for sure. So I think he's in good shape. He's probably happy but not ecstatic right now.
Yeah, and where would you have graded this without the High Sentinel? So that High Sentinel instead has to be an Einok Bonkin, or it has to be another common card.
Yeah, it's probably a 6 or a 7 out of 10 without the High Sentinels, but with it, that definitely puts him up another point on the 10-point scale.
Welcome back to the booth, Ian Duke, Brian Dave Marshall. We just watched Josh Utter-Leyton draft.
Yeah, really exciting.
Yeah, that was interesting. And that talk about a little bit about that discipline of opening that blue card and then being able to get away from it. It's something we see pro players do, and I think it's one of the big differences between maybe drafting at like Friday Night Magic and drafting at a table like this.
Yeah, it's a really difficult skill to master, especially in light of the fact that, as Marshall mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of talk about this format being very bomb heavy, and there's an inclination to just pick your bomb and run with it and not really think about what's going on at the table. But he definitely noticed he passed a lot of blue cards early. It was going to be hard to get rewarded for that in Pack 2, and the black was really flowing there. And I think we also saw just a proclivity to gravitate toward the black-white deck, which he seems really comfortable with, and that's important here at the Pro Tour.
Battle Brawler was the big card for him in terms of that pivot, right? Mm-hmm. He saw Battle Brawler, I think it was like his 3rd pick of the draft, maybe his 4th pick, and it was just fascinating to watch. We've got another draft that we're going to be able to watch for you soon. We're going to send this back to the news desk and Rich Hagon, though.
To Brian David Marshall and Ian Duke. Must be nice. Oh, what should he open? Oh, I recommend High Sentinels of Erishin. Bang, there it is. Good news for Josh Utter-Leyton. Now, remember, those 8 players will be locked in battle over the coming 3 rounds. So you're guaranteed that the cards you saw in Josh Utter-Leyton's piles going round the table, they're going to end up somewhere. Well, he was in seat number 4. Round the table from him, he was passing to seat 5 Koei Ito of Japan in his 5th Pro Tour. Then it was former Rookie of the Year from Chile, Felipe Tapia Becerra, and he was passing to seat 7. And seat 7 was occupied by one of the most popular players in the history of the game, Mr. Luis Scott Vargas. Would you like to see everything that he drafted? I thought you might. We're about to, in the company of Marshall Sutcliffe and Randy Buehler. Here's the draft of Luis Scott Vargas.